Hello everyone, Caleb the Sports Guy here again today, and we're here to talk about the NASCAR Cup Series. In this video, we'll be predicting the 16 drivers who I think will be competing in the 2023 NASCAR playoffs. So, let's not waste anybody's time, and let's jump right into it. We will start off with the drivers I feel are safe locks to make the playoffs. Those drivers being as follows: Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Blaney. These 5 drivers, in my opinion, should be competitive every single week and should pick up wins. Logano, he is the defending series champion and shows a ton of speed in that number 22 Ford Mustang. Chase Elliott was the most winningest driver last season and, in my opinion, the most consistent. Kyle Larson, he's an amazing equipment there at Hendrick and shows speed and shows just so much talent every single time he hops behind the wheel of that number 5 machine. Denny Hamlin has a chip on his shoulder. He knows his time is coming up and he wants to go win a championship. And again, he shows tons of talent and tons of speed every single week in that number 11. And then finally, Ryan Blaney, one of the most consistent drivers last year that simply just did not find victory lane. Snuck into the playoffs, though, and I feel like he is going to get a win in a points-paying race, obviously getting the win last year only at the Texas All-Star race. Those 5 drivers right there are drivers I would say are safe locks to be in the playoffs. Now, we go on to the drivers I consider contenders. These drivers have speed, should win a race, but I need to see more before I consider them locks. These drivers are Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, Alex Bowman, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. Now, for Christopher Bell and Ross Chastain, they both made the Final Four last year. However, that was both of their first years in the Final Four, Bell winning at Martinsville, and Chastain doing the now infamous Hail Melon move to move on to the finale. So, I need to see what they can do more on a consistent level this next season before I consider them official locks. Alex Bowman and William Byron, both teammates of Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson, were very good last year. However, they both lacked one thing, and that was consistency. Both drivers looked great until the summer stretch, and they fell off a cliff. And if it wasn't for wins earlier in the season, they might have missed the playoffs entirely. So they've got to clean up a lot of things if they want to be legit contenders. Tyler Reddick looked very strong last season, and that number 8 for RCR. However, first off, he moves over to a completely new team at 23-11, taking over the 45 car. And also, when it hit the playoff time, he completely fell off and was eliminated in the first round. While I think he has the speed to go win races, can he harness that speed into a consistent playoff run? And can he harness that speed consistently to be up front every single week when it matters most? Then, the last two, Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. And while people might be questioning, how do you have 2 guys that are veterans and champions in just the contenders and not guaranteed locks? Well, I'll start with Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. did not win a single race last year and missed the playoffs entirely and dealt with so many issues that it was kind of just mind-boggling how they just kept running into themselves. They kept making mistakes and just never seemed to be able to clean it up, and it cost them so many times from getting wins that they probably earned and deserved. Can they get out of their own way this year, or will they continue to make those same mistakes? That's what we need to see. Kyle Busch, on the other hand, lucked into a win at the Bristol Dirt Race, and if it wasn't for a little contact between Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe, would have gone on to finish 3rd that race, went on to have a terrible summer with only 1 top 10 to finish off the season after the Bristol Dirt Race, and immensely struggled. So, I need to see more from Kyle Busch. Plus, he's also moving to Chevy and RCR, taking over the number 8 car. So, a completely new team and new scenery. I need to see something from Kyle Busch before I consider him a lock. Now, we have, at the moment, 12 drivers already that I've put in. Those 12 drivers obviously being Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, Alex Bowman, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. Now, before I say my final 4 drivers, I want to get on to some honorable mentions of drivers I think are solid, but this year I do not think will be in the playoffs. The first driver that comes to my mind is Daniel Suarez. I think he is an incredible talent and has an incredible story. But with the amount of parity and competitive drivers this year, I feel like Suarez will struggle to get wins and stay consistent against drivers I just feel like might be either more talented or just might be in better equipment. I think while Daniel Suarez is in great equipment in trackhouse racing, I feel like it could easily cost him in the long run. And honestly, I need to see a little bit more consistency when it comes to finishing up front and finishing off races for the number 99 machine. Next up on that list is Eric Jones. Jones shows incredible speed and incredible pace. And honestly, I would not be shocked if he did go on to win a race or two next year. However, I don't think Petty GMS, now rebranded to be the Legacy Motor Club, is ready to take that step yet to be a consistent enough team to give Jones a consistent enough car to go win races and be competitive enough to be in the playoffs. I feel like they're a year or two away still with what they have right now. But their biggest thing is to keep Jones and keep their team around. Now, the next drivers up are the three drivers that are moving on from the Xfinity Series. Those drivers being AJ Allmendinger, Noah Gragson, and Ty Gibbs. AJ Allmendinger, he is a veteran of the Cup Series, but moved on to the Xfinity Series a few years back, drove for Colleague Racing, and that's where he's moving up to take over in that 16 machine. And I feel like he could easily go win races next year. He showed a lot of speed in the Xfinity Series in Oval, and he's a road course ringer. However, there's also a lot of good road course drivers in the Cup Series at this exact moment, and a definitive guaranteed win for AJ Allmendinger is not a guarantee, honestly, when it comes to the road courses like it might have been a few years ago. Noah Gragson and Ty Gibbs, those guys are rookies. And while Ty Gibbs throws into amazing equipment in JGR, taking over the now rebranded number 54 machine, and Noah Gragson hopping over to take over the 42 car at Legacy Motor Club, I feel like these two drivers, while they do have the potential to be great in the future, I don't know if they can just go out and light the racing world on fire and immediately go hop into the playoffs. That's just my opinion, though. Now, those are my drivers I gave honorable mentions to, so now let's go to my final four. These drivers I call my wild card drivers. Drivers that I think will make the playoffs. However, if it hits September and these four drivers aren't in the playoffs, it wouldn't be all too surprising to me. And these drivers are Austin Cindric, Kevin Harvick, Chase Briscoe, and Bubba Wallace. Now, some may immediately think, why is Kevin Harvick here and not higher? Well, it's his last season in the Cup Series, and while I completely believe Harvick and his team with Rodney Childress and everybody can get wins, I am extremely concerned still. If it wasn't for his wins at Michigan and Richmond last year, Harvick would not have had a single win. He did have a ton of consistency and speed and pace to go point his way into the playoffs, but with how many winners we had last year, would he have been able to point his way into the playoffs over Ryan Blaney, who did get that final spot? That's a huge question mark. And I need to see Harvick be able to finish off races. You need to win if you're going to go win a championship or be competitive in the Cup Series if you want to make it far in the playoffs. You can be as consistent, but I still feel like you need to get wins because those playoff points, they matter a ton. And that's what concerns me with Kevin Harvick. Can he get those wins? That's the big question. Now, his teammate, Chase Briscoe. He is the future of Stewart-Haas Racing, in my opinion, and he needs to show that this year. I think he has what it takes and has the complete speed and ability to go do what he needs to do to go win races and be in the playoffs. However, he has to fix one thing, and that's the bad mistakes he makes. While he has tons of speed, he sometimes overdrives the car and puts himself into bad predicaments. Look at the Bristol Dirt Race last year when he wrecked Tyler Reddick, and the Coke 600 where he was hounding Kyle Larson for the last 20 laps. And if he wasn't for driving so hard, he probably could have gotten Larson instead of blowing a tire with 2 to go and costing himself the race. If he can figure out how to atone to those mistakes and fix overdriving the car and just do what he has to do to go get the finishes he deserves or go win the race that he can go win, he can 100% be in the playoffs. Austin Cindric has a ton of abilities and is an amazing driver when it comes to driving a race car. However, he needs to find consistency. If it wasn't for his win in the Daytona 500 last year, he would not have been a playoff driver. He was sub-20th in points last year and really struggled to be consistent and be where he needed to be to go win races. And if he can do that this year and figure out how to clean up his consistency, he can 100% be a contender. However, if he doesn't, I don't know if I can guarantee he's a playoff driver. I think he definitely can do it, but he's going to need to find that speed, pace, and consistency if he's going to be a playoff driver. And now finally, Bubba Wallace. I think Bubba just keeps getting better and better. And he has a ton of speed in his car. However, the biggest issue that him and that team have in their way is themselves. That team always finds a way to get in their own way. Whether it be a bad pit crew, tires falling off the car, or getting agitated and dumping a driver and yourself when no damage was done. The number 23 team gets in their own way, and when they don't do that, they can go win races. Go look at the Kansas Fall race last year, where they didn't make mistakes, executed all day, and they got a win. If Bubba and his team can figure it out this year and stay out of their own way, I can guarantee they will be a playoff team next year. So, those are my 16 drivers that I believe will be in the playoffs. For those who need to know, those 16 drivers, again, are Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, Alex Bowman, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Austin Cindric, Kevin Harvick, Chase Briscoe, and Bubba Wallace. Those are my 16 drivers that I think will be in the playoffs. Now, I want to ask you guys, who are your 16 drivers going to the playoffs? And in what order do you think they will be? Do you have your contenders, your locks, everything? Or do you just have your 16 drivers that you think will guaranteed be in the playoffs? Leave it in the comments below and let me know your opinions on this. And hey, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to go comment and like and subscribe if you want to see more NASCAR content from me. Because honestly, I love talking NASCAR and I love doing this type of thing. So thank you guys for watching today's video, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.